Stop the cap.
Medium Man is going to set himself up for failure if he already hasn't done so. Okay? A lot of people on my page want to be Medium Man's cheerleader, and they want to dick ride, and they want to say, oh, he's breaking down the numbers. And many of you fall underneath the category of educated black people yourselves. And it seems that many of you can't even do basic math yourselves, or even how you phrase the material and misinterpretation of data, which is what Media Man did in his recent video. And all I'm going to say, because, I tried to leave some comments to let him know, and apparently he blocked me because my comments weren't coming up when I refreshed the page or when I went to new comments or whatever. That's neither here nor there. I don't care. Because what's going to happen to Media Man is Media Man is going to, fuck around, put the content that he has out, and somebody's going to take the clips and cut it up, and they're going to point in the areas, which, like I'm about to do, where he's completely wrong. The sad part is where he's completely wrong is at the very beginning of the premise of his whole argument. Okay, black women have there's more black women that are mothers than there are black men that are fathers. That's a fact. But that's about as much as you can say about it. There's really not much else that you can say about it. And what Media Man does, and many other people like to try to do, is they like to try infer, all these other, things, and draw these other conclusions about the information that they're looking at that they can't, and it seems like most of which is because, black men want to dunk on black women. And, black women, they did the same thing. And so you get a lot of people that want to do this tit for tat. But again, number one is black men. And especially as an educated black man, your information has to be correct and it has to be accurate. And Media Man's information is neither correct or accurate. Because, hell, the premise of his whole argument falls apart just based off of what he said at the beginning of the video, which is where the CDC numbers that he's throwing up about the 60%, and he took the CDC reports from 2006 all the way up to 2019, which is 13 years. And what he did was he said erroneously that black women birth 62% of the children, and that is not accurate. That is not what that statistic says. That what the statistic says on the breakdown of who are of the percentages that it has is on what percentage of black women are mothers. 61% of black women are mothers. 46% of black men are fathers. And just for reference, what is this? 54.6% of white women are mothers and 43.9% of white men are fathers. That stat does not say that black women mothered 62% of the children, or that black men fathered 46% of the children. Those two statements are not the same thing. 46% of black men being fathers and 61% of black women being mothers is not the same as saying that black women mothered 62% of the children and black men fathered 46% of the children. Not even close. First off, and this is why, and I already warned him about this, when you're dealing with percentages, you go and you get the whole number. And because that is what a percentage is. A percentage is a representation of a whole number, meaning what is the total population of black women? The total population of black women is somewhere around 21.9 million black women. And of the 21.9 million black women, 61% of those women are mothers. And when it comes to black men make up about 19.1 million, and 46% of those men are fathers, saying that black women mothered 62% of the children. You would have to go and find out the total number of children, born, and then you would have to figure out who parented those children, and how many of those children did the black man or the black woman have. Now, based on the CDC, at every age group, it says that, I mean, not every age group, every number of children, going from no children to one children to two children, three children, and then four children and more. It says that basically black women have more kids than black men. They have more kids at one child, they have more kids at two children, they have more kids at three children, like meaning the percentage of that population, has more kids. When you look at the, how many black women have three kids, and what percentage of black women have three kids, and the percentage of black women that have three kids, I think it's like 12.9. And then when you go and you look at the percentage of black men that have three kids, it's 7.2. And when you look at the percentage of black men that have four or more kids, it's 7.1. And then when you go over to black women that have four or more kids, it's 9.5. So as you can see, based on up to the number of, four or more kids, you have more black women that have more kids. Now, what I don't like about that, and this is the whole problem with the way that these stats are worded, it is way easier for a man to have multiple kids by multiple women. Now, granted, we are already down at 46% of black men are fathers, right? So that's less than half of the population. And then when it comes to the 1, the 2, the 3, and the 4, okay, black men have a lower percentage of black men have, multiple kids. Okay. But if you start going up to the extreme, like if that number actually showed who has 10 or more kids or 15 or more kids, just biologically speaking, you're going to start seeing more men at higher percentages in that arena. But we don't know those numbers. Okay. But 1 through 4, we can definitely say that, that black women have more kids than black men. But also when it comes to how many kids are being born over the fence, we don't know that number. Medium Man's post about how many biracials there are. Again, we don't know who had, how many kids with who. This was the whole problem that I had when people like to bring up, the marriage numbers and talk about who's married. People being married is irrelevant. Why is it irrelevant? Because people have kids outside of marriage. Not to mention the fact that you have people who will, not the first child they had was out of wedlock, especially if they had the child young. And then the second child that they had was in wedlock. You especially see this with the men. So there's multiple things that we do not have the information on, and Medium Man and many others are drawing conclusions that they cannot make. I personally don't like this, because this reminds me of the whole 1 in 3 black men are in jail. And that's not what the stat was. What the stat was is that 1 in 3 black men between the ages of 18 and 24 are in jail. That's what the stat was. And it makes sense because, who's committing the crime? Young black men. That's what you're going to see in that demographic. If I go over to the white community, that's what you're going to see. Young men commit crimes, not older men running around. Older men are in jail because they committed a crime that was so egregious that they got tons of time. That's why they're there. But it's of the men that are in jail, 1 to 3 are what is it? Not 1 to 3. 1 out of 3 are between the ages of 18 and 24. Okay, that's what the stat said. And then somehow, through the grapevine, that got turned into 1 in 3 black men are in jail, which doesn't even make sense because there's about 7 million black men, and then if you take out the ones that are under the age of 18, because obviously prison only holds people who are 18 years or older. If you remove that, then you're left with some number below 7 million. And then if you divide that, or excuse me, multiply that by 1/3, you know what I mean? You're going to get more than the total number of people in prison right now, which includes all different races and includes all genders, which is only about 1.2 million people in prison. Right now, it's like 1.23 million people in prison. So you be taking, just under 1/3, of 7 million black men, which is going to have you way over the total number of people who are in prison currently. And that's just ballparking it. But this is why you have to speak on these numbers with some sort of intelligence. What Media Man did in his video is not accurate. And then he went and proceeded, to do all this math based off of an erroneous statement. Black women, we have not seen any information. I'm not saying that black women don't have mothered 62% of the children, but we don't know that. You would have to sit there and literally have some sort of data that says this is the total percent, this is the total number of children that black people have had. This is the total number of children between such and such date and such date. Black men have produced this share of children, and black women have produced this share of children. You are not deriving that number from looking at 62% of black women are mothers, because that is based on the total population of black women and what percentage of the total population of black women are actually mothers. That has nothing to do with the number of children that have actually been born. That has nothing to do, because again, it's a total number. Again, you could have 46% of black men, even though I know that's not what the CDC numbers say currently, but I'm saying you could have 46% of black men producing 60% of the children if the 46% of black men all had, I don't know, 10 kids apiece. You see how that works? And then the black women would have, obviously some number less than that. But the black men would still maintain their 46% of black men are fathers, and the black women would still maintain their 61% of black women are mothers. You see, the number of children born has nothing to do with the percentage of men or women, respectively, who are parents. Talking about the number of parents that there are is different than talking about, who fathered them. That's totally different numbers. And Media Man just arrogantly went off and made his video, got the ha-ha-has at the end and everything, and he looks like a dumbass to any intelligent person that knows what the hell is going on. And it's only a matter of time before some female PhD that comes through that has a PhD in statistics and rips his shit apart, despite the fact that he said that he's a statistician. You know what I'm saying? I am not a statistician, but I can sit there and look at these numbers and be like, man, this doesn't even sound right. Because even listening to it, I went back and listened to it a couple of times. And I'm like, why is he using the entire black population to try to derive some sort of numbers? Why wouldn't he use the number of children born? What is the total number of children born? What is that number? And I went and I looked up what the numbers on average. It's somewhere, and the numbers have gone down over recent years. And I'll put the link in the description box so you can see it, but that only goes back to 2016. But the numbers were hovering somewhere around 600,000. That's how many people were having. So you could go 600,000 for the last 13 years. Let's just say it was 600,000. It's only hold on. Oh, it's only about, what is that? Hold on. I'm gonna do the calculations right here. Yeah. 7,800,000. Right? 600,000 times 13 is 7,800,000. I don't even know where he's getting his 24, the number of kids. I don't even know where he got that number from. But again, his whole argument is based off of an erroneous premise. And this is why this shit is important. How you set up your test, or how you set up, how you're going to frame your information, is extremely important. It's extremely important. If you screw that up, then it's like in law, the fruit of the poisonous tree. Everything after that is going to be wrong. That was like the whole thing with like not reading people there. Oh, did you read them their Miranda rights? Oh, you didn't. Oh, well, let them go. You know. Oh, you did this wrong. Again, Johnny Cochran. If the glove don't fit, you must have quit. And that's what happens when you're breaking down information. Okay, if you frame your information incorrectly, then all the calculations and all the math that you do from that point forward are going to be wrong. And again, it takes way more math and Media Man has consistently done this, and I've warned him about this, and I've left him messages about this, and he responded to me like one time, but then the other times he blocked me. Going back, to today and messaging him, he blocked me. It takes a lot more math. Like primary example, if I wanted to figure out how many how many um how many black men had at least 3 children. If I wanted to figure that out, right? I look at the total population of black men, 19.1 million. And then I say 46% of that, those are the men that are fathers. Okay? And then 7.2% of that whatever number I got from that, 7.2% of the 46% of black men have at least, 3 children. Okay? And then that's going to give me a number, right? And that's just the number that's going to give me the actual physical number of men who have 3 children. If I want to know the number of children, then I got to multiply that by 3, right? Because that's going to show me the kids that have at least 2 other siblings, because there's 3 kids apiece. You know what I'm saying? If my math is correct, right? And you would have to do the same thing, for the women. I don't know especially with the time period, you might at best, because, I was able to pull up numbers. You at best look at it and say, okay, on average, each year, this is how many kids, are born. It's about 600,000. Okay. That gives you a starting point to look at the number. Now you go, okay, we got 600,000 kids. How many kids did black women have, and how many kids did black men have? It's not a 1-to-1 ratio, because some of those people have multiple kids. And hell, some of those people, you'd have to take certain kids out, because, okay, we got a black man and he's got, 1 kid with a black woman. He's got 2 kids with Becky over the fence. 2 of his kids are biracial. Only one of his children are black. Same thing with Karazin. 3 of her kids are biracial. Only one of her children is black. You see? And with Mr. Karazin, all 3 of his kids are biracial. You see, and then there's the other stupid game that all these stats, play, where they're like, oh, if you have, a person that's either, my favorite, self-identified as black. I'm like, what the fuck does that mean? Right? Because this is an ethnic question. This isn't a cultural question. That's nice that you're biracial and you identify as black culturally, but you're not black. You're biracial. See, this goes back to the whole reorganizing of the race. And what you'll notice in a lot of these stats when they're trying to break shit down, the white people, they don't play that shit. They don't have a person that's white with at least one white parent. You'll never see that shit. But when it comes to black people, this person is black that has at least one black parent. And then they'll take the whole world and just dump it in the black community. Black and Asian, black and Arab, black and Indian, black and white, black and Hispanic, right? And all that just gets dumped in. And I'm like, I'm just trying to figure out the information on black people, right? And if you want to figure out who's going over the fence, who's having kids over the fence, more, right? Then you got to figure out how many people had, the black children, how many people had the biracial children, which I don't even know how you would get that information. Marriage isn't going to tell you that information. Hell, the very argument that brothers are trying to make is one saying that, well, black women have more kids that they had over the fence. Okay, where's your numbers at? Where are your numbers at? You need to have the total number of children, and then you have to have a situation where you actually know, who is biracial and who slept with who. How many black women had a child with a white man? Okay, boom. How many black women had a child with a Hispanic man? Okay, boom. How many black women had a child with an Asian man? Okay, boom. Right? Because marriage, again, isn't going to tell you anything because people clearly are having kids out of wedlock. This is the type of information that you need to have in order to make a statement. Otherwise, you're just shooting into the air. And you're doing the same thing that black women have done to us, which is why we feel like we have to defend ourselves. You know what I'm saying? I could rest my hat on, all this shit about, all black men, they the one out here, they the baby making factory in the black community. I can rest my hat on the fact that the black community has 61% black mothers and only 46% black fathers. You know what I mean? Prior to the CDC and Kevin Samuels saying all this shit, everybody would have ran out here believing that black men were just out here spreading their seed all over the goddamn world, and that black women, were that were 10 times more sexually responsible than black men, and that's what it is. And all this, this man shortage bullshit and everything else. Again, if a woman's talking about, it's hard to find, men making six figures and 6 foot tall and got muscles and a 6 Series BMW and lives in a $600,000 house, I'll agree with her all day. But if a black woman's out here talking about, I can't find a man because the numbers aren't available, going back to Oprah shit, I'm like, bitch, get the fuck out of here. Black men have a harder time finding, childless black women than black women have finding childless black men. This goes back to the whole, we can't throw a rock without hitting a single mother. And again, freaking 61% of black women are mothers. And then you have, 42% of those black women are going off and they're, having babies before the age of 20. Before the age of 20. That's right there in that, CDC report. It's like, no wonder you went to college, you came out of college, and you was running into single moms. Like, what the hell? Yeah, 42% of the women in your cohort as a young man were knocked off because between the ages of 15 and 20, you know what I mean? They were out here making babies. And again, like I said, even that, right? Because, there's a dark cloud over that because people will say, oh, well, you got, predators in the black community getting with underage girls and getting them pregnant. No. Again, I had to go and find some other reports, but they said that's a very small percentage. Especially with the, 5 or more years, like a 15-year-old getting with a 20-year-old, it does happen. And then you also have to factor in, this whole situation of the girls that don't get pregnant, but we're still fucking with dudes that were, where it would have been classified as statutory rape. But most of the girls are getting pregnant by guys that are within the window where it is legal, right? And again, the whole categorization of that is problematic, because again, if 18 and a 19-year-old get together and they have a baby, it's a teen pregnancy because 18 and 19 are teenagers. It's a teen pregnancy. That's a problem, right? In terms of like, I don't care. I'm like they're teenagers, but they're both adults. I don't care about that. That's not predatory. I just want the predatory situations, right? Or you'll have a situation where a 20-year-old gets with a 17-year-old and the 17-year-old gets pregnant, right? So the 20-year-old's an adult, the 17-year-old is a minor, but guess what? That's still legal because they're only 3 years apart. Still legal. They're peers. They were in high school together. Okay? And even if they weren't in high school, even if they didn't know each other, didn't go to the same high school, it doesn't matter. They're 3 years apart. Legal. That is not a predatory situation. He's 20, she's 17. But on paper, all you see is a 17-year-old teen pregnancy, and you see an adult. And then people go, predation. And I'm like, no, not necessarily. You got to know what the ages are. What is the spread? This is why there's statutory laws. And typically it's about 4 years. You can get away with about 4 years. After that, then you're looking at predatory shit. But this is the 19-year-old getting with a what would that be? With 19, for getting with a 23-year-old, you know what I mean? That's on the fence. You know what I mean? But still, those are two adults. Well, actually, no, that wouldn't count because that's two adults. I take that back. Yeah, two adults. Anything above 18 is an adult. You see? So an 18-year-old can get with a 50-year-old. Legal all day, all 50 states, legal. You see what I'm saying? But yet, the 18-year-old's being classified as a teen pregnancy. This is why, all these things need to be broken down. And part of the problem with the CDC, report is, what it gave us was basically that there's more black mothers in the black community than black fathers. And not only that, but the fact that, at least from 0 to up to 4, because again, if I start going into the extremes, it's way easier for a man to pump up 20 women full of babies than it is, for a woman to have 20 children, right? But I'm saying, Captain Solo's, his grandmother, I think she had 14 kids. So both of them had 14 kids apiece, but nobody's really doing that anymore. But again, but the point is that even when the women try to immediately rebut with, well, I'm sure there's men out here, they got kids all over the place. Well, again, according to that CDC report on, I think it's table 3 and table 4, it says that you all have more babies at when it comes to, the child, not the age, but, whether you have one child, two children, 3 children, or 4 children, 4 or more. It says it right on there. And then again, Cassandra Dorius, she went and I don't know how she calculated the shit. I've been trying to actually find the research paper, but she said that, black women have, 59% of 59% of the 61% of black women and their mothers have kids by more than one man. And then looking at, the conversation from Catherine Eden, looking at some of these other reports, people, and even in the CDC report, people who have kids early are more likely to go off and have kids later on, and especially in the black community, especially with women, because apparently black people, and this was pointed out by Catherine Eden, think that, having a child is what actually makes the bond between two people. They think of marriage as an abstraction, and especially when, black people disproportionately don't have the resources, the baby comes first, the wedding comes later. And this is what you see in environments, of disproportionate amounts of poverty. That's how people function. That's how people operate, in the BC. But there really isn't much, until I start seeing some real, like, raw numbers, and some real math, people throwing around all, percentages and shit. Again, I use that analogy of, there's four couples in Antarctica, and two of the couples are in a domestic violence situation, and then the headlines on the newspaper say 50% of the black women in Antarctica, are in domestically violent relationships, and it's like, yo, there's only four couples here. Like, that's not a large enough of a population to make, a statement that has you thinking we got a whole population. We have an emergency. We have to have, Congress, deal with this, because 50% of black women in Antarctica, are in a domestically abused relationship. What's the number that we're dealing with? Oh, four people. I'm like, oh, that's nothing. It's not even statistically significant. And it's amazing to me when you get these people talking about, I'm a statistician and statistics and all this other stuff. And I'm like, and what they're doing demonstrates that they don't know what they're talking about. You know what I mean? And I hate having to do this. I hate having to make this video. I would have preferred, like I was doing before, to just say, hey man, I think you need to look at this again. Because I've already made him take down one video by pointing out, I'm like, you can't, his main problem, Medium Man's main problem is he draws conclusions with information he doesn't have. You don't have that information. You can't make that statement. And then again, the way he characterizes the information is totally erroneous. Saying that 61% of black women are mothers is not the same as saying that black women birthed 61% of the children. Because 61% of black women being mothers is based off of the population of black women, who are 21.9 million, versus having 61% of the births would be based off of the total number of children born. What is that number? These are two different numbers. So, like, again, every time, and I need you people to do this, okay? When somebody throws a percentage out there about black men or black women, and you keep in mind, you're 60% of what? What are we talking about? 60% of what? Because talking about 60% of parents is not the same as talking about 60% of children. Those are two distinctly different populations, and you have to understand that. So, probably Medium Man will take this video down. He needs to take it down, because, like I said, if I was a black woman, I'd have a fucking field day with your ass, on this video. I have a field day. And especially if I had a PhD and I was a statistician. Oh, God. It's going to be a slaughter. It's going to be a slaughter if one of these, I got a PhD, Kevin. I got a PhD. If one of them bitches come through, it's over. It's over. And then, what's going to make matters worse? It makes it worse because, freaking Medium Man, claims himself to be an educated man. All that's going to happen is this will be like, and this is why y'all niggas are unfit to lead, because y'all niggas can't even do math. That's exactly what they're going to say. And niggas going to be sitting around with egg on their face like, damn, homie, you done made us look bad. Damn. You done made us look bad. You putting out stuff out there and it's not even accurate like that. And then you get the situations where you can be right, but for the wrong reasons, right? Like, because the whole point of this is to break down the numbers, not just to simply state, the obvious of what's on the CDC report. No, but it's to break down the numbers and say, look, this is what we're actually looking at, and possibly come by bringing in, outside information like, hey, this is the total number of black children that there are. I looked at the number, that the same website that I put up, the number of new births each year is about 600,000. The number of black children that exist within the population is about 10 million, because it's eight, and that includes everybody who's under the age of 18. But that's not what we're looking at. It's like when you're looking at marriage statistics, right? Do we care about, well, how many black people are married? Oh, it's 33%. Well, that's not what I care about. What I want to know is what percentage of the newlyweds of, let's say, black men are marrying interracially. See, I'm going to get a totally different number when just looking at the newlyweds. I want to know the people that got married this year. How many of them married over the fence? I don't care about what happened in the past, right? Because there's black people that have been married since, I don't know, the 1960s, and they're still married, right? We already know that's going to be, overwhelmingly black men married to black women because, it was the fucking 60s. It was racist back then. People weren't getting down like that. But now in 2024, right, when I'm looking at the newlyweds, there's going to be a demographic shift from, the past and what it looked like in the past versus what it looked like today. And that's why a lot of these stats have cutoffs. They have cutoffs, in terms of the snapshot of when you're looking at something. I mean, think of it like the way that black people used to vote Republican and now they vote Democrat. That did not happen overnight. It was a gradual shift, starting from the Gilded Age, going all the way up to Lyndon B. Johnson signing the Civil Rights Act. Okay? And the same thing with the white folks and them, and the South slowly going from Dixiecrats, Democrats, to being, the solid red South as we know today. Okay? That happened over time. If I took a snapshot in 2023 and I said, oh, how do black people vote? Everybody's going to say Democrat. But if I go in the 19, I don't know, 10, and they go, how did black people vote? They voted Republican. So to sit there and, to not like pay attention to what you're looking at or what you're looking for. And then you have the other issue of using, like, the people that are doing the research are not asking the same questions that black people are asking. Okay, this is the whole problem with Cassandra Dorius is, 59% of the 61% of black women or mothers have kids by more than one man, because she didn't do it for the men. I'm like, how do you go not do it for the men? You do it for the women, but you don't do it for the men. And I went back and I found stats from 2002 and back then it was 32% of black men had kids by more than one woman, and 46% of black women had kids by more than one woman. So again, there's still that gap, and that gap probably persists to this day. So if black women are at, 59%, black men are probably like in like the low 40s or something like that. Okay. So, it pains me to make this video, because I don't want to have to, attack my quote unquote brother like that. But nah, man, like this, you're going to make us look bad. Your shit has to be on point. And I'm saying, if you got to go and you got to cross-reference your shit with other people, like even when I do math, I will sit there, I watch Medium Man's videos, or I'll sit there and I'll try to figure out some shit myself. I always go to Cap, the engineer, and say, man, can you take a second and look at my numbers and let me know if my numbers are right. Let me know if my shit is right. Because, that's what you do. You get people to double check your shit. That way you don't go out there arrogantly making a video, making an ass out of yourself. Especially when you're talking about numbers or any space where you claim to be a professional in the space. Nah, you can't go out there with fucked up information and you supposed to be the professional. This is what the fuck you went to school for. Nah, nigga. No. That's why you got the fucking freaking Charlie Kirk and Matt Walsh up there. Yeah, that's why we gotta eliminate DEI, because see, these niggas don't know what they talking about. And then the black women gonna come through and they gonna piggyback right on top of that and be like, that's right. And these niggas, they want us to follow them, and they can't even do math right. Oh man, no. That's gonna be a slaughter. Niggas gonna be crawling underneath rocks that day, trying to hide. You know what I mean? All because you don't put out, again, I can already hear "Gotta Be Kidding Me's voice. I can hear "You Heard Me First Time's" voice. You know what I mean? I can see her making a video right now, and it would be a slaughter. I'd have to wipe the blood off of my computer screen. Oh. Anyway, that's all I gotta say. That's my video. SWP out. Don't forget to comment, share, like, and subscribe. We gotta do better, man. We gotta do better.